Hi, welcome to this how to play video, which will be followed by my short opinion about how Kingdom Rush plays in practice. So I'm going to go through some basic concept. I'm going to show you how the game plays. You're going to be able to replace the main rules of the game, and then you will be able to make your opinion on how the game plays and get a full spherical approach on the gameplay. On top of that video, I will create a new video with a live playthrough, so you'll be able to see also in action how a session goes with Kingdom Rush. But what is Kingdom Rush? Let's start the other way around. Kingdom Rush is a tower defense game which actually comes into our world. This is a board game which brings the tower defense feeling and tension and genre to the table, on the table. So what this game does really good, and I'm going to start with all the pros immediately, is it manages to bring all the different aspects of the tower defense, meaning the level up of the towers, the variability and the different options for the enemies, and the tension of having hordes and hordes of enemies coming toward you, but also it brings on top different and more let's say sprinkles of goodies, like the heroes that they go on the actual board, their abilities, their different special abilities, and different pros and cons, and all this together. So if you like versatile puzzle thinking board games which have the tower defense in their core, or they're trying to approach it, because so far I have found that not many board games trying to achieve in bringing this tower defense feeling on the table, this is something that you definitely need to check out. So join me at the table, I'll show you how the game plays, and come back at the end of this video for a quick wrap-up and my final opinion about the game. Spoiler, I loved it. Let's go and see how Kingdom Rush Rift in Time plays in action. The end of the Age of Towers, with the last of the kingdom's enemies defeated, the stalwart defenders of the realm put away their weapons of war and turned towards more peaceful endeavors. Unseen by even the mightiest of wizards, the knight omnipotent Time Mage spied upon the kingdom from behind a cloak of powerful magic. As the last of the towers that had so ably defended the land were dismantled, the Time Mage summoned all of their arcane might and ripped a hole in the very fabric of space and time. It began as a small shimmer that grew into a gaping tear from which foes from across the ages began to emerge. Creatures of legend and lore sprang forth from the mystical rift to do battle. As even more rifts tore open across the realm, more danger approached the kingdom. Behind the swords and shields, the clever engineers and mages of the kingdom hurried to develop towers that could stand against this new threat. Until this message arrived, we have harnessed the unstable space-time magic ourselves, using this new power the kingdom called heroes from across all ages to defend and focus on the dimensional energy and try to save the kingdom. So this is how Kingdom Rush Rift in Time looks like. The theme is gorgeous, this is a tower defense game, so let me go through what we see in front of you. The game is already set up, so we can start explaining how the game plays. We have various things that go in different places depending on the scenario that you pick, and there is a separate mission rulebook which has all the different scenarios with some general setup for the cards and the piles, and then you just pick up a scenario, or you can go through them as a campaign and then set up depending on the number of players. Very easy and very straightforward to prepare both the Horde decks and the respective locations, styles, etc. But all these are custom depending on the scenario that you choose. So you see in front of you different cards. These are the cards that we're going to be using. These are the towers that we're going to be playing on different building sites depending on the number of players, or if you're playing a solo, which is excellent as a solo as well. And then you'll be trying to attack the different hordes that emerge from different spawn points, numbered 1 and 2 for this specific mission. This is scenario number 2 that I'm showing you, just as an example to illustrate the basic rules of the gameplay of Kingdom Rush. We have our player board here with our special abilities and the card of the hero, which usually starts in the hand of the player, a tracker for the health, indicator for the movement points. A turn sequence are cards, starting cards, which are described here, again depending on the number of players. Different piles of cards, all these are militia, all these are bombard cards, etc. And they also are placed in a specific way so that they are sorted as a level. These are level 1, level 2, level 3, and some scenarios will have a level 4 respective buildings. So this is the militia, it's upgraded to footmen, and then it's upgraded to knights, and so on, so forth for the rest of the different type of towers. We have trays with tiles that they cover these polyomino sections, the Horde trays. For the moment they are flipped face down, and essentially this is very easy to set up, just following the specific scenario instructions. So Kingdom Rush Rift in Time is a co-op game in which you will play through a different number of progressive, more and more difficult scenarios, trying to accomplish the end, save the kingdom from this evil mage. So the game setup instructions are located at the beginning of each scenario mission, and we're going to go through some basic ones for this specific scenario, but keep in mind that if you're playing another scenario or a more advanced scenario, you may need to do some additional setup tasks, but none of them are difficult or not easy to understand. It's everything illustrated on the scenario booklet. So the gameplay. In Kingdom Rush, hordes of enemies are emerging from strange portals and seek to destroy the kingdom. Enemies will appear at the edges of the map. For me here, these are the hordes with the enemies, with number 1, the first spawn point, which they go through here, and this is the second spawn point indicated by this token, and they go through here. Players will be trying to defend their kingdom, depending on the difficulty level that they choose. These hearts indicate that I'm playing a relatively easy mode with 8 hearts. I'm trying to defend my kingdom. Whatever passes through there will create opportunities for damaging me and reducing my health, which represents the defenders in the kingdom. And every round has a specific number of phases. First of all, we have the spawn phase, where we spawn new hordes. Again, these are the horde trays. I'm going to show you how one of those looks like face up. It has different structure for the different type of enemies, and they're located in different locations. They are like that, and are on a tray located here, which this whole tray is sorted out according to the scenario, so that you know which card comes first, second, etc. Depending on the wave. Everything is explained thoroughly in the scenario pages, on the scenario pages. So, first of all, on phase 1 we spawn hordes. You will always be battling against enemy hordes that will spawn at the start of each round, phase 1, and new hordes are added to the trays and placed on the path. I have already put everything on trays, so it's convenient, and I just pick up the tray and place it. We're going to see how those horde trays enter into gameplay when we explain more in detail this phase. The second phase, players play towers and hero cards. We have some starting towers in our hands that we're going to be playing on different locations here, and also we have this hero card on in our hand, so we can also play our hero and get our heroes on the map. So you will be battling against the hordes using your towers and heroes, but most of your actions will take place in this phase, in which you can all play simultaneously. Basically, we discuss, we co-op, we make the best strategy, but there is no order. We decide how we play all these different towers to the different locations that we can play them on, and we're going to explain those. These are color coded, and then this phase can be done simultaneously by all the players upon agreement. Towers will deal damage in the form of damage tiles that are going to cover specific sections of the horde tray, and subsequently what is going to happen is hero is activated by placing the hero card on the hero board. So if you play your card of your hero on the specific slot, then you can activate your hero and he can move up to his movement strength, enter from the kingdom, and then try to engage with the different hordes. We're going to explain this later on. To defeat the hordes, you're trying to put as many damage tiles, both from the towers that they are attacking, also from occupancy by the base of your hero, because he or she is taking a portion of this tile, and maybe now it's a good opportunity to flip those, because you can see how the game would start. this would be already in play from setup of scenario 2 instructed me to put those specific wave and type of enemies within play already at these specific slots, so everything, you don't have to remember everything. So at this stage you'll try to do as much damage as possible to cover specifically the heroes by attacking with your tower and with your hero abilities as well. And this phase would be concluded once all players have played. Then we're going to move to phase 3, where we destroy the Horde trays that can be destroyed. Essentially, once you have all taken your actions, any Horde trays that have had all their enemies covered with damage tiles or minis from the heroes, they will be destroyed, but any heroes on those trays will also take damage. And when Horde trays are destroyed, you will earn crystals, as indicated at the back of the respective card, which will give you the opportunity to buy more towers for your next round, etc. Keep in mind that, for example, I'm just putting now for the moment different attack tiles, so this could be the idea in theory would be that you have different towers are attacking with their different tiles, creating damage opportunities. Of course, they need to be specifically aligned, and the tower needs to be in a specific direction so they can fire these specific tiles, etc. And maybe I have, for example, have also covered this one. We'll see how this works. And my hero is standing here covering all the enemies. So this is an example where all the enemies on a Horde tray have been covered, and in theory during phase 3 they would be, this Horde tray would be destroyed. Phase 4, we advance trays. All remaining Horde trays will move towards the path exit, and trays with heroes and soldiers on will not move. So if this was not still destroyed for any reason, this would get to move with a specific sequence. We're going to explain it later on. So if this was the case and it had to move, since it has at least my hero, a hero on there covering something, or a soldier, they would not move, and they would the soldier would get the damage and be removed, or the hero would get the damage and immobilize the Horde tray. This is one of the other functions of having heroes or soldiers on top of the different Horde trays, respectively. I haven't explained how these polyomino damage tiles are placed on the different Horde tiles. They are fired from the different buildings. We're going to explain. Just this is an opportunity now to indicate that this is a core game. It's a very rich and full game, a huge box with lots and lots of material and lots of gameplay and replayability. But there are a couple of things that they are not included in the core game, so that you are aware. This is this 3D cardboard towers, which are some upgrades from the 3D tower expansion, and they're used essentially in a way to replace this very nice transparent plastic and sturdy I don't know, cards or whatever, that in theory are placed instead of those here. Maybe you get some glance, I don't know, but from up close there is no glance when you're looking from, you know, when you're sitting and looking at the table. So this indicates that this is a location for the green player to play cards on there. Another aspect that we're going to explain later on is that you cannot play cards wherever you want. You have to play on the specific building, color-coded building locations, which instead of those now have the upgraded 3D tokens, 3D towers, in order to continue with the gameplay. So if I was a green player and all these, there were from each, there were 3 players playing here, for example, I would be able to play only here, here, and here. But we're going to explain this later on. This is the advanced Horde phase, where, as we said, Horde trays get to move towards the exit. So all Horde trays are going to try to move towards the exit so they can deal damage to the kingdom and defeat me, in theory. Should the tray ever reach the exit, the kingdom itself will be attacked, and if the kingdom is destroyed, losing all the health, you will lose the game. Phase 5, we pick up tower and hero cards that they were already played. I haven't mentioned yet, but the way you play cards during phase 2, I didn't show actually putting the card there. You're placing specific cards from your hand. All players do that on your building slots. Now I couldn't play on both green and yellow. I'm doing it for example purposes only. If I was a green player, I would only play on green slots. unless I'm playing solo, which I'm going to explain later on. And then you have to rotate them, or the placement and the direction plays a huge role because it matters. We're going to explain how this these cards work. So in theory, all those cards that have been already played during phase 2 are going to be picked up from the building sites. So I'm going to take those back in my hand. Yeah, and also I will be able to take back the hero card, so I have it in my hand and I can play it again to activate my hero. Then the next phase is the spent crystals phase, phase number 6. Everything, of course, is described conveniently on this helper card. Actually, there's a second one. This is for all the different type of enemies and all the damages that you get depending on the resistance you get depending on the type of enemies. So the phase 6 spend crystals, you spend crystals to buy new tokens, to buy new towers, and towers that are bought with crystals are shared in terms of actually the crystals are shared. It's a shared resource to the crystals. So when you get to buy the different towers to put them in your hand so that you can have better options in the next round, are decided among players. Who player is going to take which tower, etc. So keep that in mind as well. So how do we win the game, and when do we lose the game? The victory condition is very simple. You will win at the end of the round in which you have achieved the victory condition as described in the scenario booklet. In most scenario cards, what you really need to do is you need to destroy the last portal card, which is a specific card that comes into play and have some different rules associated with it. We're going to explain it. And the loss conditions, players usually lose the game immediately if all of the heart tokens near the exit tile, actually the health of the kingdom, are depleted, meaning that you have taken all the damage that you can take. Or the players lose immediately if any portal card, and we're going to explain how this may happen, moves through the exit tile and reaches our kingdom. That means that we lost because the portal will destroy and absorb the kingdom itself. So these are the 6 phases, very simple. So I'm just going to go through a couple of details about card anatomy and some basic details on how this works, and then a couple of words for each phase, and that's how you play Kingdom Rush. So more game details. Let's take it phase by phase. So during phase 1, what we get to do is we spawn new hordes. Starting with a spawn stack which has been assigned the lowest numbered spawn token, we flip the top horde card of each spawn stack face up. So I'm going to start with the lowest number, number 1. I'm going to take this card, flip it, and reveal the enemy. We're going to skip phase 1 in the first round of the game, so we don't get to spawn. We start spawning new hordes from the second turn moving forward. So we put each horde card into an empty horde tray and place it on top of the path, onto the path space directly in front of the spawn stack. So in here, that was very simple. I would take it from here and place it here. There is a spot, so I'm going to take it and place it here. Each horde card has a purple line along one edge, orientating this horde tray. So in theory, as you can see, let me show you again up close. If you look carefully, there is a yellow-purple line that you have here, and this is always has to be in parallel with our kingdom. So when this moves, it always moves like that. You don't get to flip it or rotate it, so it doesn't lose orientation. Okay, so this would be a legit spawn a horde starting from token number 1. These are placed next to the horde trays, so you can know which is the first one, which is the second one. You can have even 3 or more depending on the scenario. So if the space is occupied, you place the horde in the first empty space between the spawn stack and the exit. This may result in a horde reaching the exit when it spawns if you don't have enough space for it. So if I was going to spawn, forget about this one, a new one, I cannot spawn it here, I cannot spawn it here, it would go directly here. And if this was still occupied and I had to spawn a new one, it would go like boop, 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 immediately jumping over and reaching the end and damaging the kingdom directly. Heroes on path spaces do not prevent the spawn of a horde. So if I had my hero or another hero already sitting here before I place this tray, this does not prevent the spawning of a new Horde tray. What happens in this case is very simple. If a hero occupies a space that a Horde tray would be placed on, the hero is moved one space into an adjacent empty space or on a building site, if there is space. If there is no such space, you return the hero on the player's board, here or close to the player's board, so that you're going to get to use it on the next turn. You place the Horde in the space where the hero had been occupying before. So this is very simple. After I finish with spawn token 1, I would move to spawn token 2. Here's a good example because this is already occupied, so this will go directly here, etc. Phase 2. We play tower and hero cards. If at the start of this phase your hero is not in play, meaning you don't have your hero on board or somewhere in play, what happens is your hero maybe was previously knocked out, so it has been he or she has lost all the energy and he was knocked out, for example. Then what you need to do is you need to set your hero's health to maximum. Okay, at the start of this phase, you place your hero card on your player board. So essentially, I would have this card already in my hand, and I will spend it not to activate it and move the hero on the board, just simply to regenerate his health. So he would or she would get all the health, and I will put it standing up. You place your hero card on your player board, and you may not move or perform any actions in this round. You just simply regenerate, so you lose this round simply to regain all your health. You do not refresh any exhausted hero abilities as well. So this is how you need to approach phase 2. The first thing that you need to do is you need to do this if your hero is knocked down or it's not in play. Now, during this phase 2, you can do any number of the following actions. You can play tower cards, like those I showed you, or any of those that you have in your hand. So you can play tower cards on the building blocks, on the building sides. You can pass your tower cards to the next player, or one of the next players, even whoever player actually you choose to, in order to get them leveled up during the end of this phase. I'm going to explain how this works. Or you get to play your hero card, so you can activate it and put him or her in play. A couple of words for each of those, but first let me show you, let me start with maybe the sharpshooter. Let me show you the anatomy of one of the tower cards and how it works. So all the towers have similar anatomy. Essentially, you have the tower name, which is here. You have the tower level, which is here. You see this is level 3, and you can see that this is level 1, level 2, level 3. Level 1, level 2, level 3. This is for all of these columns. You have the damage type that the tower deals. If it is a physical, you have this sword. If it is a magic, you have this blue energy. Or if it is a true, you have a purple sword. You have the number and shape of the damage tiles, which are located here. And then you have the range arrows, indicating how this can be applied by attacking. Similar anatomy for all of the cards, with different options and flexible attack alternatives. Now, as I said, we're still in phase 2. We get to play tower cards, pass tower cards, and play our hero card. Let's briefly touch those and say a couple of words for each of those. Playing tower cards. In order to play a tower card, you take it from your hand. So a good example would be, let's say I had these cards in my hand. Okay, I had this one as well. Okay, I had 4. In order to play a tower card, I take it from my hand and place it onto a building site that matches my player color. Again, this is denoted during setup. This setup is for a solo player, and you get to have one simple additional rule, which is very easy to follow. I'm going to explain at the end, because this game plays fantastically as a solo. But imagine if we had 3 players and each of those had one color, green, yellow and purple. I would be the green player. I get to play cards only on spots that match my color, here, here and here. So I can play, for example, this card, or I can play this militia here and perform the attacks, the associated attacks. So I'm not only playing the cards, I'm also performing the associated attacks. Towers cannot be placed on building sites occupied by a hero. So if during the previous phase a Horde trade displaced my hero and I put him or her on a building site, I cannot now play a card. He has to activate and move. That's why it's not a good idea to have them on building sites. And each tower has one or more attacks indicated by the damage tiles shown on the card. Immediately after you build, essentially you play a card, what you need to do is you need to execute, you may execute if you wish, its attacks once. Each tower shows the attack's range arrows and the shape of the damage tile it fires. This type of archers, marksmen and sharpshooter deal green tile damage. The mages, the adept and the wizard deal blue energy attacks, and bombard, artillery and howitzer deal the red ones. Knights, militia and footmen deal specific damage with those soldiers. I forgot to mention before that these soldiers are also an upgrade from a Kickstarter. Usually you have wooden meeples, but they are cute as well. So just to sum up, this is extra, this is extra, and okay, the hearts and crystals are extra because they are tokens. Everything else is, as you see, gorgeous production. We have to mention this because I really like when companies go the extra mile. So going back to playing tower card, each tower has one of more attacks that they need to indicate to attack. For example, here it shows the number of tiles this tower inflicts. It shows the direction, the options, where you can go either left, in front or to the right, meaning if it goes here, either here, here or here, if it goes facing like that, because if for any reason you have put it like that, it would only be available to fire diagonally there. So facing is important in this game. Now, the orientation of your tower determines the direction it fires and the orientation of the damage tiles. We have the range arrows that you can see here. The arrows indicate how far away and in which directions or direction the tower will shoot. More arrows mean the attack is more flexible and has possibly more targets within its scope. You can have direct, meaning this attack can attack the path space directly adjacent to the tower, like if you had only this one, this is directly in front, or if you had this one, yeah, so it's direct. You can have diagonally angled. This attack can target the path space diagonally adjacent to the tower in the direction of the arrow, as I showed you. You can have multiple arrows, like for example the sharpshooter. So you can, this one can attack, forget about the diagonals, both the one directly in front and one further away. So if it was placed here, like that, it would be able to attack this. Okay, here we don't attack, but also 1, 2, because it has 2 arrows. So that's why this is a level 3 upgraded tower, the sharpshooter. And also you can have another icon which has a green bullseye scope, which is the perfect. The attack can target any path on the space, any space on the map, regardless of adjacency. Now, the second thing is we attack and defend depending on the different types. You will see that on this card you have some different icons at the bottom. So attack types are identified by icons and arrows indicating which enemies the attack can cover. Defense type of enemies are also indicated on the actual Horde trace by icons which indicate which attacks an enemy cannot be covered by. For example, you have physical damage, which is the range arrows are red, as you have seen, these towers. You can have the magic damage, which the arrows are blue. And you can have the true damage, which actually may cover enemies with both physical and magical defense types. Range arrows are purple. And then you can have different icons on the enemies. For example, you can have, is it this one? Essentially, you have a a physical damage with a cross, meaning that there is a physical resistance, cannot be covered by physical attacks from towers, soldiers, or hero abilities. You have this one with a cross, actually a cross out. A magical resistance cannot be covered by magical attacks from towers, soldiers, or hero abilities. And then you have the deadly, which is the white soldier with a cross, which means that can only be covered by damage tiles, but not soldiers or heroes. I think there was somewhere one of those. Oh yeah, it is. You can see it here. This is the physical resistance. This type of enemies on the Horde trace, depending on the variability of the Horde enemies you get, cannot be covered by physical damage. This one cannot be covered by magical damage because they have magical resistance, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's good. Yeah. Okay. So this is how attack and defense types work. The third thing that we have to acknowledge is attacking with damage tiles and how it works. When an attack executes, the tower specific damage tile is placed on the targeted Horde tray. You must place the damage tile onto the Horde tray in the orientation depicted on the tower card using the grid squares. You cannot rotate or flip a damage tile unless the attack has a free manipulation icon, meaning that, okay, this is a square, but let's say for the benefit of example, yeah, this is a good example, howitzer, let me get it. Okay, so let's say I have previously maybe had in my hand and played this one, so this is going to attack. You can see that this card has specifically orientation free manipulation icon on the left attack and on the right attack, but in the frontal attack there is no white free manipulation icon, meaning that it has to go like that. So, bottom line, this will fire. On the left, one of those that you can rotate, there is nothing here. Diagonally to the right, one of those that you can rotate, and that helps me better maybe because I want to cover these double movement enemies as soon as possible. Okay, but in theory I could also rotate it because there is a free manipulation, so I could do it like that and maybe put it here, following the free manipulation icon. But the frontal attack, which has this triple attack, cannot be rotated, meaning I cannot rotate it like that and place it here. I need to keep it as exactly shown on the card and then decide where to place it. Hopefully something like that. You can rotate and flip damage tiles fired from an attack with the free manipulation as you wish. Damage tiles cannot overlap with other damage tiles, soldiers or heroes, and must be placed within the borders of a single Horde tray. And enemies on a Horde tray may have a defense type shown by an icon, as we explained before. If an enemy's defense type means it cannot be covered by this particular type of damage because they have, for example, physical resistance, okay, then you are not allowed to place this tile on that enemy. To destroy a Horde tray, you must cover all of the enemies depicted on it. So everything needs to be covered. This one, which has only one left, is not being destroyed just yet and gets to activate and move normally. If an attack has multiple range arrows and multiple damage tiles, each damage tile may be placed on the same or different hordes as long as the target hordes are within range. The exception is the tower which shows the damage tiles linked with a plus, linking them, and this must be placed on the same tile, on the same single horde within the attack range. Finally, the damage pool is not considered to be limited. If in the rare case that any of those are depleted, feel free to replace and recreate the shape out of smaller tiles. Now, soldier towers, this whole column, we have militia, footmen and knights, and they produce these lovely soldiers which occupy a single space on the grids. Some towers, such as the level 1 militia, will generate soldier meeples rather than damage tiles. When you place a soldier type tower, you take as many soldier meeples as shown on the card from the general supply and place them on the horde trays in range. So my militia here is facing here, so I can take one of those because it has a single icon. Let me show you up close. Single soldier icon, whether here footmen have 2 and knights have 3. and I will take one of those from the supply, and instead of firing damage tiles, I'm placing it here so this doesn't get to move twice since I covered this one. Soldiers can be placed anywhere on the Horde tray, covering a single square each, as long as it's permitted by the attack type. They cannot be on the same square as the existing damage tile, other soldiers or heroes, as it makes sense. So, soldiers cannot be placed in empty squares on a Horde tray. If there are no legal placements for a soldier on a Horde, then those meeples are not placed and they are used lost. Soldiers, I mean, why would you want to do that? Maybe you have resistance and you cannot put physical damage on this single specific enemy, so you think that you may put a soldier on an empty space so that it doesn't move and activate. You cannot do that. It needs to cover an enemy, so it doesn't go on free spaces. And this is very well explained on the rulebook. In theory, this would be an FAQ. That's a very well written rulebook indeed. Now, soldiers have a health of 1, so when damaged, they are returned to the general supply immediately. Besides attacking enemy, soldiers prevent the Horde tray they are on from advancing and can be critical to slowing the rush. So as long as there is even a single soldier on a tray, when this tray is activated, it will not move. It will inflict a damage on each of those soldiers because they all have health of 1, but the tray itself, it will not move at all. Keep in mind that the soldier pool is limited. If all the soldiers are already on Horde trays, you cannot place any more. You're allowed to move soldiers that they're already on a Horde tray to another Horde within the range of the soldier tower that you have just placed, but you cannot make replacements for different substitutes. Soldier towers also allow you to place an extra tower on a building site. Normally you may only place one tower on each building site. However, a soldier tower that has been played can be placed on top of that, or of another single tower. So for example, if you had one, let's say I had one more militia, it can be played on top of something else because it gets to fire again, because howitzer will do their job, will fire, and then it's useless till it's been picked up during the next phase. But and in theory I can only play new cards on spots that they are belonging to me. But if I play a militia, it can cover another card, and that's very useful. Essentially, in order a soldier tower can be placed on top of another single tower, or a single tower may be placed on top of it. This allows you to have up to 2 towers on a building site, as long as at least one of them is a soldier tower. And only building sites owner get to do that. You cannot play a soldier on a different color. You can see always the color from this frame. So this is how soldier towers work. Another important aspect of the game are the portal cards. So let me show you one of those portals. You can identify them because they are purple. In most scenarios, to win the game, you must destroy all portal cards unless otherwise stated in the scenario booklet. Portal cards are powerful sources of magic and time, energy, so attacking them can cause towers to be lost in time, and the number of portal cards included in each scenario are different and has to do with difficulty. Keep in mind that scenario 1 is more easy than scenario 2 all the way up to scenario 10. This is a progressively more and more difficult game to beat and challenging. I really like it. So there is a single tower level. You can see in the center of each of those portal tiles there is a number. This square cannot be covered with any damage tile or soldiers, and the central square of the portal card must always be visible, as it shows a restriction of which level of tower can attack the portal card. A tower must be the same level or higher as the number written on the center of the portal card in order to be able to be attacked by this specific tower. Meaning, okay, this is 1, so it can be attacked by everything, but let's say we had another portal, maybe this one, which said 2. That means that this portal card can only be attacked by towers of level 2 and up. So it can be attacked by this and that, level 2 or level 3, but it cannot be attacked by level 1, which are the baseline ones here. So keep that in mind as well. This is very important. If you attack a portal card with a tower, you place the damage tile as described. So let's say for the benefit this was here already in play. And if you attack a portal card with a tower, you place the damage tile as described before, so you follow the same procedure. The difference is that the tower that attacked this card gets to be flipped over. So if I used, for example, Horde before to attack this one, that one, and here, by placing diagonally one of those, so for example I have placed this one here, then once a tower attacks and needs to be level 2 or higher, this is level 3, okay, once a tower attacks a portal card, you have to flip it so that it reminds you that it's going to be removed at the next phase. So even if only one of the attacks from a tower that produces multiple arrows is placed on the portal card, that tower is still flipped face down after finishing. A tower does not have a target. If a tower does not have a target, a portal target, if there is another damage, for example, to be done. Basically, if a portal card is the only valid target, you must use all of the attack on that portal card. You cannot choose not to attack in order to save and not lose the card. There is an exception to that. If all enemies on a portal card are already covered, meaning you have already covered all the enemies here, with legit placements, of course, then you don't have to perform an attack since it's already been destroyed. Heroes can move through portal cards, okay, in order to end somewhere else, but they cannot stay on portal cards. This is forbidden. They can use it to move, you'll see how they move, but they cannot stay on them. Portal cards move like any other Horde trace, so they follow the same movement rules. But the difference is, as you remembered, if a portal card for any reason passes through your exit tile, then you immediately lose the game. The last thing that you can do is that you can pass cards. So let me show you a case. I have played some cards, I have played different, for example, my hero card, or I have played different cards. Another thing that I can do is I can pass tower cards. Why do I want to pass hero cards? If you have any tower cards that you did not wish to build this round, you can pass them to any other players, so you get to choose where to pass them. When you pass the tower card, you must first upgrade it one level. To do this, take a tower of the same type from the general supply that is one level higher and place that tower face down in the incoming tower slot of the hero board that you choose to give this card to. Then you place the tower card back to the previous respective supply, meaning I get to have a militia. I'm not playing it, I want to upgrade it. So I take the militia, I replace it with the next level. Militia is level 1, so the next level is level 2 footman. I return militia to its original pile, and I get to give this card to any other player in their incoming tower slot, so they can get to use it, pick it up and use it on the next turn. This is the only way to upgrade your cards. You pass early and you pass often. The tower supply is limited. If the tower card needed in order to upgrade a tower is not currently in supply, you cannot upgrade the tower. Instead, you must place the tower you're passing face down in the incoming tower slot of the hero without upgrading it. The maximum tower level depends on the scenario you're playing. So here I'm playing all the way up to level 3, but some scenarios have level 4 as well. Let's now have a quick look on the anatomy of the player board, because we're going to explain after that what happens when you play your hero card from your hand on the player board on the slot and activate it. So this is the player board. You can have the game comes with 5 different heroes. I'm going to show you some of those. They all are asymmetric, they have different abilities, different basic attacks, different ongoing abilities. It's very, very nice to have all this option, and it's also nice on the solo because you get to have some bench and use some of them as a one-time bonus. So cool production, by the way, again. So these are the different heroes. You have 5, I'm showing you 4. What is the anatomy of the hero board? Let's look close up. This is similar, another hero Malik the Hammer Fury, like Aleria the Swift Wind, which I'm using for this demo. Now, here you have the hero's basic attack described here. Each hero has a different basic attack. Then you have 2 slots for 2 special abilities depending on the scenario. You can see them here. You have the slot for the hero card, which is placed here. So Aleria, when activated, will be placed here, the respective card. You also have your hero name. You have then the hero health points. Malik has 3 hero health points, and Aleria Swift Wind has only 2, because she moves faster and further away, but she has less health. You get to put 1 of the hearts and the full energy here, and you get to move as long as you lose health. Then you have a slot for, you also have the move points indicated at the bottom as boots with flying wings. You get to have the slot for incoming towers. It's always on the top right of each board, as I indicated here. Here's a convenient turn sequence as a reminder. Then you have special icons and hero skills, and also you have the starting towers. So if you're playing solo, you get an archer, artillery, a footman, and a mage. But if you're playing a 2-player or 3 or 4-player game, you get different cards. And this is very useful as a reminder as well. And everything is on the respective player boards. So, as we said, instead of playing tower, we can also play tower card from our hand, but we can also play our hero card. Play your hero card in order to activate your hero. Okay. You play your hero card on your hero board on the active slot, and if your hero regenerated at the start of your round, you cannot activate it, as you already expend your whole hero activation in order to gain back the lost health and recover and stand up. When your hero becomes active, you may move the hero miniature and perform an action, and you may do this in any order. So let's say I just played my card here in order to activate my hero, which is waiting. You move your hero miniature. Heroes can move 1 space for each move point shown on their hero board. Aleria has 3 movement points. Okay. A hero that stops moving to perform an action cannot be moved again and loses the remaining movement points. Heroes can move both orthogonally and diagonally. So she can move like 1, 2, 3. Come all the way up here. Of course, they can move through buildings. They can also move, okay, this is a simple road scenario, but if you had different, more big map setup, I can move through building sites on the road and then go on different building sites and then again on Horde trace, etc. So it's up to me. The difference is that you cannot go off map and you cannot end your movement on a tower card. So I cannot end here, and I cannot end on a portal card as well. I can pass through them, but I cannot end my turn on those. Heroes can move through a portal, but as I said, only to go somewhere else. If a hero miniature is on your player board, the first point of movement must be spent to place a hero on the path immediately in front of your kingdom. So one of my 3 needs to be this one. 1, 2, 3. Your hero's attacks or abilities may feature range arrows, so like here. So the direction of your miniature is important. So keep in mind that in order to perform these range attacks, you need to be facing correctly your target. So when you end up moving, select carefully the direction of your hero, depending with the attack arrows that you have. So if I want to attack also this one with my, I need to carefully select the facing of my mini as it ends its movement. So this is how you move your hero. A hero that ends their movement on a Horde tray will engage it, and you place your miniature on the Horde tray such a way that it covers a 2x2 grid, as I have done just now. If there is no space for the hero to be legally placed on that Horde tray, they cannot end their movement on that tray, and when engaging, you are using the hero to directly attack enemies. Hero miniatures are considered to be true damage in attack type, so they can place on both magic and physical resistant enemies, but not on deadly enemies. And this is how you move your hero. Then you get to perform one action. You can either do a special attack, a special ability, a basic attack, which is described here, use hero abilities and recover. So let's explain those thoroughly. The basic attack. So, your hero, let's start first with the basic attack, which is this one, always on the top left of your player board. Keep in mind that every hero has a basic attack, special abilities, and different ongoing abilities, but they cannot directly attack a portal card. Portal cards can only be attacked by towers. So this is very important to keep in mind. So let's go again on the types of actions that a hero has. Basic attack, described here. And again, as I mentioned before, each hero has their own specific basic attack described on the top left. So, your hero will have one of the two types of basic attack, which will place damage tiles in a similar way to towers. Basically, keep in mind that each hero comes with their own abilities and their own damage tiles. So for example, Malik here, Malik has this type of cover tiles, damage tiles. Alaria has this one. Other heroes have their own different special abilities and different type of polyomino damage tiles, and this is very useful, and it's part of having different asymmetric abilities as well. So you can have either melee attacks, and Malik is one of these examples because the melee attack has this fist icon. Melee attacks without range arrows shown can only be placed on the Horde tray that is your hero engaging directly. So on the if Malik was in play only here, so you cannot do damage elsewhere because it's a melee attack. They cannot overlap other damage tiles, soldiers or heroes, and must be placed within the borders of a single Horde tray. Okay? So he would deal, for example, this type of damage tiles, respectively. Range attacks, like Alaria here, are with range arrows and work exactly like tower attacks and follow the placement rules described before. A hero cannot use range attacks to target the Horde tray that they're engaging. So the difference is that Alaria cannot use range attacks to attack the Horde tray that she's sitting on. All heroes have also, so for example, you see, she can attack like a tower using this type of damage tiles. She has a manipulation for this one, and she can also respawn the Wildcat, which is a specific extra mini that she has to cover some additional space. That's a special ability, has to do with Alaria specifically. Special ability. All heroes have unique special abilities which are powerful effects, and each is represented by a tile which has a short description on it. In case of any of those tiles that they are not clear, but most of them are clear, you can go to the rulebook on page 22 and read all the details. You may only use a special ability if it has been face up, meaning these two. And I chose those based on the scenario because it has only one of those icons as the scenario instructed me. This can only be used if they're face up, readily available. You may only use a special ability if it has the face up side. Once you have used a special ability, you flip it face down so that you have shown that you have used it. And the only way to refresh them is if you perform a recover action. Also, you have hero abilities that they are described here. There are two types of hero abilities, instant and ongoing. Instant abilities usually deal damage to enemies. Ongoing abilities are active until the end of the round and may take effect during any of these phases, as we explained by the tile itself. And you have protection abilities as well, which have a shield. These are one type of ongoing ability that makes target heroes immune to damage of all types, including Horde movement, Horde distraction, the die and boss effects, until the end of the round. Protection, which is the shield icon, does not apply to soldiers. You have to read the ability in order to understand how it works. Now the last thing that you can do is recover. When you take this action, you move the heart token, so let's say I have lost some health. When you take the recover action, you move the heart token all the way to the right, so you replenish all your health, and you refresh by placing face up all your special ability tiles, so you get to use them again. Keep in note that you can also have heroes being damaged. Whenever there is a damage, a hero may be damaged by a number of ways, including by being on a defeated tray in phase 3. When your hero takes damage, you move your heart token to the left to indicate the damage taken. If your hero health reaches the skull, then your hero is knocked down. And keep in mind that immediately you remove your miniature from the play and place it on your hero board to its side, so you have it like that. And then you'll have to spend your hero action in order to recover as during phase 2, the first thing that you'll need to do, and play your card in order to do that, so you lose your cards and your hero activation. So this is how heroes work. So phase 3. We explained the phase 2. Phase 3, we destroy Horde trays. This phase is executed in the following order. First, you destroy fully covered Horde trays and gain crystals. If this had just one more strike, maybe let's make it different. Yeah, it was covered by the wildcat. Then it will be fully destroyed. If all enemies on a Horde tray are covered by damage tiles, heroes, soldier tokens, like those, then that tray is destroyed. Keep in mind that all of the icon of the enemies needs to be covered. You return all damage tiles to the respective piles, so you get to use them in the future again. You take the card from the tray and you flip it. So, okay, let me not move those. Let's say for the benefit of example, I have destroyed this card by fully covering it. I will remove all cover tiles, damage tiles back here. I will take the card and flip it, and this is indicating how many crystals I would gain. Also, I would remove the Horde card from play. The next thing that you need to be careful is you need to see if you damage heroes. If your hero miniature was standing on a Horde tray, if before damaging this and supposedly it was fully covered, this hero was standing on the tray, then the hero suffers 1 damage. So it will help by covering the icons in order to fully cover them and destroy the Horde card, but it would take still 1 damage because it was on the card, Horde card itself. The hero miniature stays on the path, so it stays here, exactly where it was, as long as it still has health and it's not fully destroyed for the round. Next, what we do is we check portals. If you destroy a portal card, then of course this indicates which portal card you destroyed, the number, shows you which number portal card you destroyed. If you have destroyed the last portal, then this will be the last round of the game. You complete all the remaining phases of the round. At the end of this round, if your kingdom is still standing, meaning you still have at least 1 health, then you get to win the game. Phase 4, move Horde trays. Horde trays will attempt to move towards the exit. Come to the exit tile, pass through the exit tile and deal damage to your kingdom. If they are able to do so, they will, before moving, we have to, first of all, let's explain how moving works. The first thing that we need to do before activating and moving any Horde tray, we need to check for any visible ability icons. Portal and boss tiles also move like Horde tiles in this phase, and each time we have to read the icons to see what happens. There are different types of icons, so let me show you some of the icons. You can have different icons like that, not only on portal cards but also on the different type of cards. So this is a healer. So before moving a Horde tray, we check for visible ability icons: heal, speed and deadeye. Heal, speed and deadeye. First of all, the heal. A Horde tray with any number of heal icons, even a single enemy with a heal ability, will force you to remove all damage tiles from there, even if it was a single one. Well, ouch. Before it moves. To do this, you need to check for this healer before checking for any other icons, because then they may reveal additional speed icons or deadeye icons. Next, you have the speed icon. You see some heroes like that have the speed icon, the two white arrows pointing downwards. A horde tray with any number, even one, of enemies with a speed icon, they will attempt to move twice along the path this turn. So they are moving faster and they're more dangerous. And the last one is the dead eye with this bullseye here. After moving a horde tray with any number of dead eye icons, any number of dead eye icons will deal 1 damage to each hero on an adjacent space to each new position on the path. So first they move, and then they don't do damage only on heroes on the tray, they do damage also on heroes at adjacent locations. But they need to be on the path, okay, as explained by the ability of the card. Now, we checked for the icons, let's say we resolve the icons, and then we start with the horde tray nearest the exit. Followed by the next nearest, moving towards the spawn points, we slide each horde to the next space of the path, maintaining its original orientation. The purple line must always be facing parallel with the exit tile. A horde tray with soldiers or heroes, it does not move. Each soldier or hero will take damage. Each soldier takes 1 damage and then it's removed from the card tray. If the horde tray has speed, it attempts to move twice. Soldiers will block only the first movement and heroes can block both movements, but they will suffer 2 damage. If the first damage defeats the hero, then immediately remove the hero and the second movement is not blocked. Sometimes a horde tray cannot move to its intended path space because the space is occupied by another horde tray. In this case, the horde that moves bypasses that path and moves on to the next available path space towards its exit, so they jump over. Several other horde trays may be bypassed in this manner. This can result in horde trays escaping and dealing damage to the kingdom. Some scenarios will feature forked paths, and when selecting which hordes to move next, move all hordes from the section of the path which has the lowest number spawn token first, and then proceed with until all hordes have been activated. If a horde tray has reached the exit, you count the enemies that have not been covered by the damage tiles of that tray, and for each enemy that are visible, each enemy space, then you get to deal 1 damage to the icon. So for example, if for some reason this tray would move beyond my exit tile, it has only 1 icon, it will deal only 1 damage to the kingdom. So you count the uncovered enemies. The kingdom heart tokens represent the defenders. If all of them are defeated, the kingdom will be overrun and you will lose. And sometimes it's alright to lose a couple of heart tokens, but just to save or make a better strategy for maintaining and enduring. And then you discard any escaped horde cards. If this escaped, you will discard it and we will still earn crystals as if we have destroyed it ourselves. So just to show you one last example, let's ignore about any soldiers or any heroes, and let's say and any icons. I'm going to explain them as if they didn't have any speed icons, okay? And let's say, for the benefit of this example, all of these spaces along the path were covered with trays. Again, ignore the speed icons, I'm not resolving them, or any special abilities. Imagine that they are simply true damage enemies with no special abilities. How would they activate? We check for the spawn point with number 1. So, we start with the specific sequence. This is our exit tile. This is the first spawn token with number 1 spawn point. This is the number 2 spawn point, here and here. 1 and 2, exit. So, first we will activate 1, 2, 3 towards number 1, 4, 5, 6 towards number 2. Again, ignoring double icons, etc. But we're talking about activation, okay? I'm talking about that because if something is activated, then you may move and then it reaches another spot and then it changes the sequence. But in theory, the activation order is 1, 2, 3 towards the first number, 4, 5, 6 towards the second number, and if you had other paths as well, with a third spawn token, you will do the same. So phase 5 after that is pick up the tower and hero cards. So all this would get to be destroyed if they were facing down, and you get to pick up all the cards and return them to your hand. If you're the green player, you're going to pick up from the green slots, etc. You pick up all the cards built on the building sites. You pick up all the upgraded towers from your incoming towers, if you received any from other players, upgrading you and giving you higher level cards. And then you also pick up your hero card, because you get to use and activate your hero on the next turn as well. So you take all those on your hand so that you will be able to use them on the next round. I'm just putting them back for visual purposes. If any towers on building sites are face down, you will return them to the supply because they have been destroyed. Phase 6, spend crystals. Crystals like that. You will cooperatively decide what tower cards to purchase and which players will going to receive them. Crystal tokens that have been earned belong to you and can be spent so that each player can take whatever they want. It's a co-op game, so you decide what makes best sense and what will count towards achieving victory. The team may spend 2 crystals to take a level 1 tower card from the supply, or and put it on their hand, or the team can spend 3 crystals to take a level 2 tower card from the supply and put it in their hand. You may spend as many crystals as you have to purchase as many towers as you can afford, and this can be given to any players you choose to. The crystal pool is limited. If there are no more crystals in the supply, you cannot earn more crystals until you spend some of them. So you get crystals from setup at the start of the game for your setup, and you also get crystals by defeating Horde cards as they depict crystal icons at the back of those. So, winning at the end of the round. You will win at the end of the round if you manage to achieve the victory conditions as described in the scenario booklet. Although there are many ways to lose the scenario, there is only one way. You have to follow this fulfillment in order to win the game. Let me put back some of those because they look gorgeous on the board. Okay. So this is how you win Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. A couple of topics about the solo mode. The campaign can be played solo. You prepare the scenario following the same instructions in the scenario booklet. You pick up your difficulty setting and prepare starting resources accordingly. And there are 3 simple rules in order to change to solo mode. Tower placement restrictions. There are always 3 different colors in play for the solo. You choose one from the available one, and you make it so that it is unavailable. So you can say that for this round I have 3 colors, green, yellow and purple, and I make unavailable the purple, so I cannot place on purple building sites towers this turn. You may always build on universal building sites, the grey ones, in some scenarios, but you cannot choose the same color to eliminate from the multiple turns in a row. So on the next turn I cannot say again I'm not going to build on purple color. I need to choose for the next turn another color to eliminate from my options. Then you have upgrading towers. When you upgrade the tower in solo play, you place it back in the tower supply and you take 1 level higher. So you don't give it to someone else, you give it to yourself essentially. And in solo mode, heroes with the melee abilities are much stronger than those with ranged heroes. So we strongly suggest that you use heroes like Malik, Ignis or Lilith as your main hero for solo. And the last difference is the hero bench. In solo mode, you play as one of the heroes who is referred to as your main hero. Beside your main hero, prepare a bench of up to 3 other heroes. So you can have benched up to 3 more heroes besides your main hero. Each of those bench heroes may enter play for a single round, just for 1 round, and then it's removed from the game. And during this round you may activate the bench hero in addition to your main hero, placing their miniature anywhere you want, etc. on the main board, but you can only perform the hero's basic attack. That's the difference. At the end of the round that you used the bench hero, you remove it from game and you will not be able to call this hero again for the remainder of this game. Any damage tiles produced by the bench hero remain in play until the Horde, which is being affected by those damage tiles, is destroyed. So this is how you play the solo game. There is an appendix with everything in the rulebook. Just to finish and to show you the scenario booklet, which is very well written. It has some basic ideas at the beginning, but for example, I'm playing scenario 2. Here is how which heroes I can use, the spells I can use, towers. I cannot use level 4 towers on this game. The Horde trays, wave 1 and wave 2, I prepare them by putting stacked these cards like that. I already put them on Horde trays here, and there are some special abilities. They explain how the healer, the magical resistance and the physical resistance work on this scenario. Last but not least, you see the map setup as shown in front of you, and what is beautiful is you have different setup and starting resources for solo, for 2-player, for 3-player, or for 4-player. And you see, you get to have different starting setups and resources, but also different allocation on some of those slots. With 4 players, you get to have more building sites. Amazing game, particularly good with solo and co-op, and this is how you play Kingdom Rush, Rifting Time. There you have it. There are so many things that I loved about Kingdom Rush. First of all, I'm a fan of tower defense games. I love them in the apps, in the video games, on consoles, because they really bring up attention, a real-time stress that you need to manage, the best of managing your resources, your money, your whatever resources you have to build towers, and also strategically select which towers to level up first and where to put them according along the path which is dictated by the direction, the movement of the enemies, the hordes of enemies coming towards your base. So all these feelings are a bit difficult, thinking reversely, to bring them and embed them in a board game. But I think this one managed to do it really, really well, because first of all, I loved the different enemies that they come and keep coming, and they're very difficult to handle. You need to think carefully how to handle them. I liked how they used the polyomino tiles to cover the horde trays in order to completely damage them. Polyomino tiles, and the use of them is something that we all love in the board game industry, and we love them in our games. So this was a tremendously clever idea to use them as an attack. So you make attacks and you put different type of Tetris style tokens on top of the horde trays, and if you completely cover all your enemies, you destroy them. Brilliant. But also on top of that, how do you manage to, let's say, emulate the level up of the towers? This is clever because they used the portals, which is in the theme of the game. Through the portals, like the mage, the big bad guy, the big bad mage, that actually brings all these hordes of enemies towards the kingdom in order to devastate our kingdom and crush it. We use the same type of magic, and each time we get to pick up all our cards, play them on different spots, and then use those in our advantage in order to strategically make the strikes that we want, in combination with the movement and the action of the heroes, which going onto the play, go onto the main board, they cover some of the spaces of the trays. This is brilliant. So all of them together come so nicely glued together that they work brilliantly. I love the essence, the feeling, I love the idea, I love the attack, I love the tension. This is very difficult to manage. You have to think how to position your towers each time, how to, where to put your better, let's say, high level up and more boosted advanced towers along the path. Also, where to focus the energy and the strength of your hero, because sometimes you have scenarios with 2 different roads coming towards your kingdom, or 3 different paths. So you have to really select and carefully organize everything in order to make it work. Brilliant. I like the fact that each scenario is played again and again. There is no repeatability in the game. You never get bored of the same scenario because everything can be different. I like the fact that you have different heroes with different special abilities, so much different play from one to the other. I like the fact that you have big bosses with big miniatures coming into the path and have their own rules. The fact that you can level up and you can use different type of towers for different purposes, but you can never rely on just a single type of tower. You need to have a bit of balance of everything, because some enemies are resistant to physical damage, some are resistant to magical damage, etc. And the last thing that is brilliant is that each scenario is more difficult and more advanced, I would say, than the previous one. So you have the 10 basic scenarios in the campaign. You can play it as a campaign and put stickers along the path according to how well you do. But each of those scenarios is more difficult, but each of those independently you can fine-tune it to play it as an easy mode or more advanced mode. Such a tremendous value for money package. This is a brilliant board game, plays very smoothly, and on top of that it comes with so much to give you back, so many options and so many things to try. Different heroes, different paths, different scenarios, different difficulty levels, and that's just the core. I really enjoyed the game. You can hear myself how enthusiastic I am, and it's not the hype of the first or a couple of sessions. I've played it many times and I really enjoyed. So this is Kingdom Rush Rift in Time. I hope you enjoyed this video. We're going to come back with a full playthrough. I'm going to play and record myself playing solo a full game, a full session of the game, and then come back with some more final opinion about options and impressions about the game. So many thanks for watching.